and now I'm going to talk about my big truth. Yes, that is a takeoff on the big lie. And I'm talking about what's going on in our world, and specifically relating it to my country, because I live in the US. But we are in a really crazy place right now, and I'm going to talk about it because I got yelled at yesterday. You see, I did a channeling session with Wilhelm, and I always receive the right information, but I don't always trust it. You know, like you have your intuitive feelings and all of that. Well, I've been doing this for a really long time, but sometimes I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I don't put it out there, and then I wake up and I'm angry because I think if I had done something, maybe things would be different now. If I had spoken up, maybe things would be a little bit different. What if all of us thought about that? Because what I'm seeing is a whole bunch of anger and division and everybody needing to be right about something that they don't even understand what they're trying to be right about. And it's just got to be really frustrating. And then we can see what's going on in our world and the results of our actions. And the results of our actions are causing chaos. And the reason they're causing chaos is because there are not enough of us who are willing to speak up and own the real truth. We all know what it is, but we pretend like we can't. We're not seeing what's happening. We can just stick our heads in the sand and pretend like it's going to go away. I talked about this so much because that's what I used to do in my life. If I don't look at something, maybe it'll just stop. Maybe it'll just go away and things will get better. No, that's not going to happen. Each of us are here now to make a difference. And the way we're going to make a difference is by owning what we know, what we believe about ourselves, and then finding a way to put that into the world where we can make a difference instead of causing hate, instead of causing conflict or division. And you know what you're doing. You know when you're doing it. You know what you're putting out, a particular kind of energy that's going to cause people to become upset. And then we use that because it's power. And what has come through in all the Wilhelm sessions, and they've been extraordinary for me because I don't even know what's coming all the time until afterwards. But when I listened to the recording, I did the session yesterday, and I listened to the recording yesterday, and it was disturbing to me. This stuff was coming out of me, but it was anxious. It was urgent is how it felt. And that's how our world looked. See, and then I went to the news later, and I saw that what was happening and everywhere, kids were getting sick. They were going into the hospital more. That's happening more and more and more. And because we haven't paid attention to science, we haven't looked at that. Some of us don't care, or we've taken science and used it against ourselves, or to try to control, hold on to power. That has gone on forever. Wilhelm said, "We wish you would have studied some history, because you could see that this has always been. As humans, this is what we do, and we're doing it again. Except it's for a reason. It's for each of us to start to own who we are, decide that we're going to come into the world and offer something that's going to cause the world to evolve instead of implode, which is what it is doing currently." That's really what's going on. And I see this because we're not supposed to talk about certain things. We couldn't even talk about them in our families. That you saw what happened over the holidays. Some of us couldn't even go home. Some of us couldn't be with our families because we didn't know how to express who we are and what we know to be the truth in the way of making a difference. What they told us in one of these sessions, in one of the channeling sessions, they said, this pandemic was supposed to bring you together, humans. And you've used it in exactly the opposite way. And then they also said during one of those messages, and you've carried this one on longer than you did the last time. We're talking about humans. We had a pandemic before. We've had many of them. We've had pandemics forever. And if people had studied this, had known what was going on, because as we interact, as we evolve as humans, as a species, we interact with different things and chemicals and all that in the world, and we create viruses. That's happened forever. It's not something new, except we used it just as we did more than 100 years ago politically, to hold on to power. And then we pretend like we're not seeing that happening. And then we will end up someplace. Well, how did I get here? How did I become enslaved again? We each have to think about that. We each have to look at, what do we want? We are born into the world to cooperate, to create something. And that cooperation means that sometimes we give up something so that we can all have more. That's all. We give up something. And the thing that got me probably the most upset through all of this is people running around talking about their freedom. But they weren't speaking of it in the way that was real freedom. Because real freedom means that you do that for everyone, because you know that we're all the same. And so you will make choices where you know it's going to benefit all, the whole, all that is. Because we're moving into a different era in our world, a different consciousness. And so those of us who have been unwilling to own who we are and our beliefs because we've been too nice, we have to find a way to talk about nice and put it into the world, because it's far more powerful than hatred. And we all know that. We have to think about this now, because we're moving into a really critical period in our world. There are different energies going on. And so the more of us who decide that we're going to put something different out, we're going to start to care about one another, we're going to do things in a different way, we're going to bring in a new world. And that was planned. That was planned. That's what I'm finding out, because that's the information that I've been receiving. And I wasn't willing to talk about it because, people are going to think you're really nuts, Roger, if you bring up this stuff that you receive from some source. Except then I see it show up. That's why I was yelled at, because I know things that I had been unwilling to talk about, as you have, because we feel we're intimidated in some way. We got to get over that one. That's why we're here. We are each born to fulfill our lives, to become empowered, to know that we matter in some way, but we've not been doing that, especially in the last several years. And that's why our world looks the way it does. The other thing that is going on, we're seeing all the weather happening. And Wilhelm said, if you had talked about, if you had cared more about one another, you would have also handled global warming. Because it's all about control again. It's all about money and who has it and who's going to hang on to it. And that's what we're working through now. So we're going to create something different. I just wanted to go on and talk about this because I had to talk about my truth. My truth is this. I see everyone as being important. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone is here to offer something to the world. Sometimes they get a little lost. Sometimes they don't know, and they don't have enough education, just like me. That's why I went out and got it. That's why I went and studied things. That's why I figured things out. But then I fell down as well because I wasn't willing to really give that information. I wasn't really willing to talk about it. So now you're going to look at what you wanted to do in your life, what you wanted to accomplish, because it's before you now. It's before all of us. And what that is each of us embodying who we are. And I'm going to start doing that now. And I really hope you have a happy new year.